You like my coffee mug? Still badass at 50. Keep that shit up. My wife got me that. This morning I'm gonna show you what's cooking in the freezer, or what's chilling in the freezer. That right there is a pilot bearing. When you're gonna put a new clutch in your car, an old school trick is to put this pilot bearing in the freezer for a little while. It actually shrinks it just a little bit, so when you go to put it inside the back of the crankshaft, it fits better. So now we're gonna go out to the garage. I'm gonna install this in the TTSaleen. So this is what the garage looks like this morning. Here's the Mach 1. I pushed it over here out of the way. There's the transmission gonna go in it. There's the glorious TTSaleen sitting there just waiting for its new transplant, which would be this T56 Magnum transmission and this McLeod RXT clutch. So get ready to put it all together. I'll do some quick videos as I'm putting it in. But this is the twin turbo 5.4 combination. Well, actually it's 20 over now, so anyway, I just got this stuck up here for now. I'm actually gonna take this back off, take this bolt out, so I can get in here and tap it in. Just tap it in, just tap it in. Okay, a little progress. So you want your mid plate on here before you get started. Make sure you put that on. It goes between the engine and transmission. This is the blow-proof mid plate. It comes with a blow-proof bell housing. I did have to modify it here a little bit, so it came way down where I couldn't really get the drain plug out comfortably. So I ended up cutting off the bottom of this here just to allow me to get the drain plug out. So something you might have to look into if you have one of these. The pilot bearing is pressed in there now. You need something flat, so it's good to have the flywheel out of the way. You can take something flat and knock it in. Take a big socket, put on the outside, just don't hit the center, and tap it in. Just tap it in. Put a little grease around the outside, which helps, and also in the freezer. Taps right in, no problem. It does have grease on the inside. I like put a little extra grease just down in there a little bit. That might be a little extra, so I'll go ahead and push that in and around a little bit here. And so now we have some little extra to make sure the shaft goes through there properly. And you'll notice it is used, but the mating surfaces from the clutch to this should match up fine. They came out of the Mach. You put in the flywheel bolts, and depending on the torque spec, it's in between 85 and 100 pounds of torque. You put those in, bada bing. I think stock's like 85 pounds of torque. ARP can go like another 5-10 pounds. So I do mine about 90 pounds of torque, just to be on the safe side. 90 pounds of torque all the way around. And we got the motor plate, got the flywheel, got the bolts in, got the pilot bearing in there. So now I am ready to start pushing the transmission in. And you'll notice I made this nice cover on the inside because I didn't have a stick shift before. I had a flat plate made. So an insulation, I got to take all that off so the shifter can actually poke through. All right, so my next step is I actually got to put the clutch on here. So the RXT is multiple discs. So you have a bottom disc, and then you put the center ring on, then you put the top disc on, then you put the clutch plate on. You have an alignment tool you put in there. You get the clutch torqued down. There's specs specifically for that. Once the clutch is in place, then you put the bell housing on, which is the blow-proof bell housing I have. There's different bolts that go around the perimeter. Once the bell housing on, I can go ahead and put the starter on. I can get all this complete. And then the last step is to take the transmission and slide the transmission in here. And before I do that, I gotta take this plate off so the shifter can poke through. I made this plate with insulation because I had a regular shifter for automatic before. Now the shifter's actually gonna poke through. So we're getting close, but that's how you get started. Good thing on doing your McLeod clutch, you wanna put the bottom disc in, hold it with the pilot tool here. This is a 26 spline pilot tool. So you put the pilot tool on the disc and stick it on to the back of the flywheel so it can turn freely. This is called the floater plate. There should be marks on it. There's like a blue mark here, it's kind of rubbed off. But anyway, when you got this McLeod clutch kit, they had a blue mark on the pressure plate, the floater plate, and the flywheel. They kind of had it marked all the way down to keep it all balanced and in the same spot. So you want to put it back on the same spot. Because I've used this before, it already had the dowel pins here around, which hold the plate into position. And you have these bolts that come with it. So what you want to do when you line everything up, you get your disc in so it can spin freely. Your plate is on, your motor plate is just out of the way. Then you want to tighten these down. I do a two-step. I do a 20 foot-pounds of torque all the way around, and then I end up with 35 foot-pounds of torque. So that's a spec for these type of head bolts. These are like a 10 millimeter 3/8 type of bolt, and that's a 35 foot-pound of torque spec for them. If you have the smaller 8 millimeter bolts, they're 25 foot-pound, but like I said, I always start out about 20 to 25 foot-pounds of torque initially, and then I finish up with 35 foot-pounds of torque, doing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tighten them all down. Once they're tight, make sure your disc spins. You're ready for the next step, which is basically getting the pressure plate and the other disc put on. But I wanted to show you kind of in process, this is how you start lining it up and getting it into place. All right, and now that the top disc is on and the pressure plate's on, mine actually had a flat washer and then a lock washer and then the nut. And you put them on, you tighten it up in a star pattern, so 1, 7, 3, 9, 5, 11. And you tighten it up, go ahead and run them down, and then you tighten it up to like 20, 25 foot-pounds of torque in the same star pattern, and then you finish it up with 35 foot-pounds of torque. And you wanna make sure your fingers are all even in here. And a trick when using these plastic alignment tools, before you put everything in, you want to put the tool in and kind of push it up and down and see where your disc line up. And what you'll find is you normally have to push up on this just a little bit when you're getting ready to set it in place. So when you start finger tightening these down, you'll put tension on enough to hold your alignment tool and the disc where you want them, and then you can start running everything down. But that way, when you put this in, it should slide in and out very freely like so. And then when you go to put your input shaft in, it should line up. Now the whole point of having this up a little bit, the main problem here is if you don't have this lined up properly, your input shaft may not go in smoothly. If it's offset here, you may just fight yourself. So you want to make sure this is lined up properly. The discs are going to line up with this tool, but you want to make sure they line up where it goes to the back of the crankshaft, or you'll fight yourself with the transmission not wanting to drop right into place easily. Now this is lined up properly. I can take this out. You can see in there it looks good. And now we're ready to put on the bell housing. You want to know what satisfaction is? Satisfaction is buying yourself a nice transmission jack, and the first time you use it, your transmission drops right into place. Boom! All I got to do now is put some bolts in it to secure it to my blow-proof bell housing. But man, I've been needing one of these. I mean, it literally just helped me click right into place. I used to use this piece of crap here. I have to lay on the ground and lower the lift and put it in there. And for my automatics, that's been fine, but for this 6-speed, it was a real bear. But I went and bought this today, $320 at Northern Tool, and it was actually on sale for 50 bucks off today. So $269 for the win, and it works really well. So throw some bolts in this and secure it. And just like that, I'll start putting those around, all the way around, and get them all in there tight all the way around. And this thing officially has a blow-proof bell housing, McLeod RXT clutch, 26 spline input shaft, Magnum T56 transmission. Kaboom! The TTSaleen is back as a stick shift. And to finish up the night progress, transmission is bolted up tight, starter is bolted up, drive shaft is bolted in. So I just got to hook my safety loop up. I got the bottom piece to hook to it, but I have some wire connections I got to hook up here. One's the reverse lockout, the speedo signal, and then the reverse lights. All that I've got to hook up, and the clutch cable, and I got to get 2 more bolts here for the blow-proof bell housing. But it's getting really close. My cross member brace will be here Wednesday. It attaches here to the factory points and then over, I believe. I don't know if the Stiflers will have it, these pieces, but these are left over from the 6R80, so it might even use similar pieces. I may take these out and use the new ones. Either way, that'll be in to hook up to here. But you can see the shifter fits perfectly in the hole. Everything else is good to go. So, a little delay getting it all in, but it is now in there. Well, didn't make a lot of progress this week. Actually hurt my side earlier in the week, so I've had to take a break. And anyway, so here's some progress on Thursday evening. I got my cross member here in with mount. I've got my wiring run for the reverse lockout here, my vehicle speed sensor here, and then this is the reverse lights right over here. Started putting on the exhaust. So my exhaust is in multiple pieces where it comes down. There's an X pipe that goes on here. There was mufflers and over the axle tailpipes, but I cut the mufflers off because they actually went on the Mach 1. So my X pipe, where it attaches, it actually has to hook to the mufflers to hang in the back. So there's nothing to hang it. So I don't think I can put the X pipe on right now. So I may just have to run it with these pipes and my turnouts I do at the track. But I do have the transmission on the bell housing. The clutch cable ran. And what I have to do now, because I had wires run through where the clutch went, I have to redo the wires and some of the boost controller tubes. So I will be doing that tomorrow afternoon. And hopefully once I get through doing that, all the wiring I did, I can check it out, put a battery in it, turn it on, check all the wiring out, make sure there's no issues, and then fire it up, run it through the gears, make sure the clutch cable is adjusted properly. I've got to adjust it a little bit. Cable will stretch when it's brand new a little bit. I have a firewall adjuster as well. So what you do is you go ahead and you preload the cable, put a little bit of tension on it here, and then you adjust it from there. So I do have a quadrant up there and firewall adjuster. So I may have this a little tight, but I'll adjust it a little bit down here to make it perfect. And then once I drive it and I need to change it, I can adjust it from up top, not to get on the bottom anymore. But we're getting close. I just want to make sure everything's perfect before I go try to drive it, which is why I try to tuck all the wires up nice and neat and run them. The drive shaft safety loop is on. I don't know if I mentioned that. The drive shaft's on. Everything seems to fit real nice. So hopefully this thing will be back and running by the weekend. That's the goal. If I hadn't been set back a little bit for injury, I probably would have had it running by now, but you know, things happen. Anyway, we'll have more of an update here shortly. Maybe by the next time I cut on the camera, you'll hear it running. All right, talk to you. All right, not quite 100%. Don't have my console in yet. Got some wiring to do with the boost controller and all to tidy up the wires, because I really don't need a trans brake bump in button and, you know, high boost button there. But seats in, ready to preliminary start it with an actual transmission now. Just checked over everything. There's my clutch cable ran, wires out of the way, redid my boost controller lines, and the line going to my vacuum boost reference here to turn on my second and third fuel pumps. Had to drill a new hole, run all that around. So now a moment of truth. I'm gonna try to crank this thing up and see what happens. Hopefully no issues. Take two now that I hooked up the fuel pump reference wire. All right, good news. Transmission works. Clutch is just a little too tight. I gotta loosen a little bit. It doesn't start to release till all way up on the travel, halfway up. So I need to loosen it up just a touch. But it goes in reverse good. My reverse lockout's working well. Reverse lights were on when I put it in reverse. So we're looking good. All right, quick recap for the night. Couldn't get my pipes on like I wanted them. This passenger side, I could do a quick turnout, but the driver's side, ever since they made this tube, it just points down too low and it's too low on the ground. So I did readjust my clutch. Everything looks good. The reverse lockout worked fine, but the speedometer box did not work. And I went back and checked my wiring. I did have it wired incorrectly, so I did go ahead and change that around real quick, but I can't test it. It's too late. It's 10 o'clock at night, so I won't be able to test that till tomorrow. That car moved under its own power. Pulled over a little over a mile and a half, 2 miles from the house, just to check everything out, you know, before I drive all the way to fast lane. So far everything's good. The exhaust is loud because it's just dumped right under the car, but no leaks or nothing. You can see how much condensation was in it. It blew water out of my damn pop-off valves, but overall it's doing great. For its first maiden voyage in 2 years, it's doing good. When you have 327 gears and a 275/60 drag radial, 4th gear is about all you need to run 55 miles an hour. So apparently I've been behind some slow people for the last 5 miles. Can't really pass because it's about 5 cars, so I can't pass them all. But so far everything's running really good. I don't have my boost controller hooked up. You see all the wires laying there on the floor. I just throwed the console back in. I've got to clean up some wiring in here before I get everything hooked up. Right now the car is running really good. It's really smooth. Like I said, I can't take advantage of 5th and 6th gear. And because of the 327s and the tall tire, I'm really only using 3rd and 4th gear to cruise around at this low speed. So 5th and 6th is kind of a waste with these tall tires and tall gears. But it runs great. It's nice to drive the car again on the street. My speedometer's about 20 miles an hour off, so that little box down there, I can adjust the settings on it and speed up the box. Back when here to work early, talk about the car, and it's been an hour, and I finally got rid of 2 customers that were here literally super early. Anyway, so here's the car, drove it to work. First time I've driven it really in 2 years. Everything did perfect. New motor, putting some miles on it so I can actually break it in. T56 Magnum did a great job. Turbos are spooling and sound fantastic. Car looks great. Sitting on the 275s. The hay train goes woo woo. What's not to like about that profile? Just got to tidy up my wires now when I get home. Put my shift boot on it, which is literally laying back here. My pedal cover should be here today. I don't know what happened to my other one, but I got some new pedal covers coming. And get it all put back together. But it made it. It made it to work. It ran great. What else can you say? And a successful first day driving the car. Made it to work, made it home, filled up with gas on the way home. Runs good, just no boost because my boost controller is not hooked up. Just a few things to tidy up with the wiring, get the exhaust fixed, and it'll be ready to go.